Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Backstory Podcast. I'm very excited today to bring you Les Jensen. I'll tell you just a little bit of how I met him and how this work goes on. I do a lot of interviews on other people's podcasts as well as interviewing people myself, and I've always been fascinated. Some of these people that interview me are just a wealth of information. And I've always been really curious kind of what got them started, what this was, how it was important to them, and what they've gained from doing this. They get exposure to a tremendous amount of people. And most of the people that interview me are also teachers in their own right. So they do a lot of work with this as well. But anyway, today we've got Les Jensen with us. I'm very excited. He's got the new human living podcast, which is I've been on a couple times. I'm very excited to bring you Les. Les, say hi to everybody.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, thank you for being with us here. So I've got a couple of questions. Your podcast has been wonderful. I've looked at the one of the reasons that I really wanted you on this show was not only because of who you are, but I look at the people that you interview. Have interviewed some incredible people. Even just recently, look at your roster of the people that you've interviewed and the approach and the different aspects that they bring to you. This is fascinating. Tell us a little bit about the genesis of it. Tell us how you got started. I know you've been doing it for 16 years, so you're a pro at the. I'm not sure podcasts have been around that long, but pretty close. So tell me
Well,
a little bit about that.
I certainly didn't see it coming at all in the slightest. I was just living my life. I was about 35, working in broadcast television. I was really certain I knew what my life was about and who I was about. I thought I knew who I was and what my life was about. But then I got cracked open, and that's a metaphor for a moment in my life where everything changed. I had ended up on a psychiatrist's couch, and he asked me, well, let's talk about anger. And I'm like, oh boy, this is so silly. I don't get angry. I'm an easygoing guy. What the hell? Well, this is pointless. And he didn't let up. And thankfully, he didn't let up. And he finally kind of got up in my face and said, look, you're safe. I'm safe. Now, Les, will you please do me a favor and show me your anger? And in that moment, some magical valve inside of me opened up and whoosh, like this volcano of energy streaming out of my body. And I remember going, who are you? What are you? And the anger's like, I don't care. Think of me what you will. That was really important. The anger did not have a predefined reaction to it. And Steve, that really that's like a bug hitting a windshield. It really opened me up, and it didn't happen immediately, but I started looking inside of me, and I found all kinds of unresolved emotions and whatnot. And over time, I think really what happened is I got out of my mind and I started listening to my soul, and my soul told me to write books and start a podcast. And that's really how the podcast got started.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So before that, when you were in television, what were you doing in television? Were you on in front of the camera or behind it?
As a chief engineer. So I was involved
Ah,
with all the technology, and I really loved it. And it in hindsight, I can see some of it was relevant because we worked with these really high power television transmitters. This was insane amounts of electricity. We would use 32,000 volts to make a
oh,
million watts 24/7. So
oh my God.
our power bill was over $7,000. And the electricity would eat a car, it just vaporize it. It wouldn't even blink. and in hindsight, I can see that my soul might have chose that to kind of show me that there's this kind of a caliber or a level of consciousness that we can hold within ourselves as a general metaphor, a general idea to see where we are in our spiritual journey. So TV, I think, showed me a lot of aspects that I turned around and applied to the notion of consciousness, because we all have consciousness, but
Right.
some of us have a totally different relationship with our own consciousness than others.
That's amazing. So this all started out of you holding repressed anger.
Yes.
Is that what I understood? So you were wow. So when you released, you basically were reborn. That's
Very much so. In my family of origin, my father was a World War II vet, and he fought in the Pacific,
right.
and his soul was seared with horror. And of course, I wasn't around when he was in the war, but I certainly saw him. He had a tempest of anger inside of him, and this is war caliber anger. It's not your run of the mill anger. He would
Right.
cut you in half with his eyes,
Uh,
and uh, and so the whole household learned early on, anger's bad, bad, bad. So let's not trip dad's anger. So we'll learn how to suppress our anger. And what's
wow.
really important is I had no clue, none whatsoever, that anger was a very, very prominent aspect of my personality, even though I never showed it.
That's amazing. Well, thank God you ran into a good facilitator who was able to point that out.
Yes,
probably
indeed.
probably pretty plain to him. That's great. That's amazing. So you went from working behind the scenes. I mean, boy, we could talk forever. I'd love to hear the old stories about the technology where we were putting out 50,000 watts into the air and all the crazy stuff that was going on with that. And now we do it from our bedroom. I mean, the, the technology has just shifted so fast on this planet. It's amazing, amazing.
And the internet made a lot of things somewhat obsolete.
Yep. And now AI is making even more obsolete. That's
Right.
correct. So it's just
If
well,
we let it.
welcome to planet Earth.
Right.
Exactly. If we
The,
let it.
the,
That's the biggest point. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But so you got into the podcast, and what took you into the spiritual aspects of things? Was that the books that you were writing? Because I mean, you're an engineer, so your brain is wired. I know exactly what you do. I built most of the computers here in the studio because it's like I have a job that pays for my toys. I love to do
right.
this type of stuff. So this is fascinating for me, but at the same time, if I'm channeling, I have to shut off one part of my brain basically. And when I'm in a channel, if something goes wrong here in my studio, I'm sunk. I go into
Right.
tech stupid. I mean, I can't even, I can't figure it out all of a sudden. It's been really interesting. So, what got you into the spirituality of it?
Well, again, before I got cracked open, I didn't have a spiritual bone in my body,
Right.
and what I mean by that is I didn't see myself in a spiritual context at all. And I think what really drove a lot of that was when I got cracked open and so much energy left my body, it changed how I experienced life. I think one of the gifts of that moment was so much energy left my body that I could see quite distinctive how suppressed anger had changed my relationship with my life
Oh
experience.
wow, that's amazing.
Oh
That
yeah,
is
and it was such a gift. And so I came into spirituality kind of through the idea of consciousness because I didn't spirituality wasn't in my vernacular, and after that time in the psychiatrist's office, I'm like, what was that? What? How can something so big and pronounced be hidden inside of me, and I have no clue. And through the notion of consciousness, I learned how to go in and find as much as I can of unresolved stuff. I do it every day. I've done it for 30 years, and I've found all kinds of junk in my trunk, so to speak.
Yep.
And every time I release energy, my consciousness goes up. And
That's amazing.
so, and
That's,
you could think of it as your shadow or your karma.
yeah. Yeah. Kind of the dark side of life. But without it though, we wouldn't be where we are. We have to experience the dark to see the light. So it's been it's been really interesting.
Well,
Fascinating stuff.
some spiritual teachers are like, oh, no, 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 we don't.
No,
Anger is
no, no.
bad juju, bad juju. And I'm like, BS. Anger is really cool. Anger is really cool. First of
It
all,
is.
if I feel anger come up, I'm out of balance somehow. It's telling me something in my dynamic is out of balance. So it's alerting me. And then anger energy is this raw, potential, very powerful energy. Here's the problem, and here's the power to take care of it. So
Right.
it's really a beautiful design. Anger is very cool once
We've
you
been
heal your relationship with it.
we have been working in our Light Master course with something the group calls power cycles. They basically say we go through power cycles on a regular basis. And one of the things that can set off a power cycle is anger. You get
Sure.
frustrated enough, you throw everything away, and then you start a whole new life, you start a whole new direction, and it can just take you out of where you were very quickly into a whole different thing. And of course, the group always says there's beauty in the darkness, so don't be afraid of it. It's just it's an opportunity for light, is what it is. So that's amazing. Very beautiful, very beautiful. Let me show everybody your your podcast, because this is one of the things that I was so impressed with. This is, of course, on Spotify. You have, and your podcast goes everywhere, not just Spotify, but to kind of show you some of the incredible people that you were uh, talking about divine feminine energy, mirroring consciousness, some of the incredible things. And we can name names, of course, but I was just really impressed with all the different potentials that you have here with therapeutic potentials of psychedelic medicines. These are all things that I absolutely. I mean, I was there in the 60s and 70s. I'm an old hippie from way back. I understand these things on a different level. So anyway, you've just got some incredible people that you have brought on with a wide variety of information. That must be
Well,
fascinating to meet all these people, because I know when I meet people on my podcast like you, we bond in a lot of different ways. Sometimes we even make friendships that go on for years and different things. This must be fascinating to have such a wide variety of people on your podcast. Tell me a little bit about that. I'm
well,
fascinated by that.
like you mentioned, we've been at it 16 years, and we do a
That's true.
podcast a week. And so we are well over 600 episodes. Countless PhDs, psychiatrists, doctors, brain surgeons, and also light workers and shaman. And I even interviewed a hairdresser because I felt her
Yep.
story was relevant because that's kind of a grassroots experience with consciousness. And she had been able to transmute her condition without really much spiritual training. And I thought that was a powerful topic. But um, it's very powerful to have these people on your show. As you know, when you interact with people, there's an energy exchange, and
Yep.
over the years, I've learned to uh, metaphorically shut up and let them talk. Meet them where they are.
Yeah.
Don't bring them to me. Meet them where they are. If they're a retired grandmother in the kitchen, I'm there in the kitchen with them. and if I keep them comfortable in their wheelhouse, they tend to speak at a much deeper level.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's some fascinating. That's some things I'm learning, obviously, on as a new podcast person myself. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been in this business, so to speak, as a professional channel for 30 years. So I have seen massive changes. When I started this process, there was only one way to break into it, and that was to write a book and to
Mhm.
write several books, maybe one a year if you could. And I hate writing books. Oh my God, I've got 8 of them and I hate it. It's one of the most difficult things to do for me. But the reality is that sometimes we've changed a lot of the process now. One of the more important things for people to do is to be able to have the online presence and the podcast where they're interviewing other people and so forth. So it's a lot of this has changed. And I know a lot of my people, a lot of the people that watch this are actually teachers and healers themselves. And some
Sure.
of them are thinking about bringing a podcast together or thinking of doing it in that way. So you've been doing it for 16 years. How difficult is it to break into this business now?
Well, it depends on how big your wheelhouse is right now. I mean, we certainly didn't have impressive numbers for the first several years. I mean, podcasting 16 years ago, that's like 100 years in dog years. It
That's right.
yeah,
Good way to put it.
and people didn't even know to go look for a podcast back then. But in some ways, it would be easier now because the internet is more prominent in people's lives. But I would suggest pick a genre, like, for example, New Human Living podcast is about personal development. And the premise of it is by listening to this episode, any of the episodes, by listening to this episode, the listener is more empowered. And so it's that personal
Right,
empowerment theme, and that gives
right.
a reason and a purpose for people to look for you. But if you talk about arbitrary topics one week to the next, it loses its sharpness, so to speak.
That's fascinating. Okay, so tell me about your base. Your base, it looks like, is the New Human Living. I've got a website up for you here too. The
Yes,
New Human Living. That topic just fascinates me. Yeah, and you've got a couple different websites. They're connected in different ways, so you can check out a lot of stuff on his website here. And of course, we'll give you the links to this, but and the podcast as well. So you've got a lot of information here very quickly on different things that you can do with this. But what got you started in the New Human Living, and what is that? What is that about? Can you explain that for us?
well, I chose the term new human because I felt like a new human once I got cracked open.
Ah,
And
okay.
and the idea was, what would I have needed to hear or read that would have woken me up without the cosmic two by four? And so the New Human Living platform is material to help you discover aspects of yourself that might be quite dormant right now, that might be offline right now, just like the inspiration of my heart and my soul. I wasn't paying attention to that at all. And now, if anything, I taught my ego not to be afraid when my heart became passionate and on fire, a passionate heart. And then my soul would show me a vision of my life. And I learned that that was not a mistake. That was actually a roadmap of what might be. And so I learned to respect. It's almost like before it getting cracked open, I was living life in the fast brain. And
Yep.
I didn't have any consciousness or thoughts perhaps in my day-to-day life from my heart, my soul. And now I've learned to quiet my mind and listen.
That's
And when my
amazing.
heart and my soul chime in, those are action items. I mean,
Yeah.
I can be inspired and take action on that inspiration in seconds. And that never, ever, ever would have happened before I got cracked open.
It's interesting you talk about the fast brain. We've explored that concept quite a bit because we tend to live our lives with this fast brain that we've trained to react to certain things instead of
Yes.
consciously be a process of it. That
Well,
that's that's
my
really
brain was
beautiful.
scared to death of anger. My brain was terrified of anger, and I had no clue. And the way that showed up is if I had a decision in front of me, if there's any any chance, not probability, chance, if there's any chance that choosing that direction might bring about anger, the answer is no. So I couldn't get in an argument with my boss when he was treating me like
Wow.
crap. I couldn't stand up in my relationships as a bit of a doormat. And so my mind was scared to death of anger, and that collapsed huge chunks of choices and decisions and actions in my everyday life, and I was clueless to it.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. Yeah, you would be. It just kind of puts the blinders on, doesn't it? And
It
you
does
really can't see that part of yourself.
at
Um,
all.
yeah, we tend to repeat things. We tend to self-validate through our reactions, our belief systems, our, like you said, the fast brain. That is the group actually equates it to a robot that we train. We're basically training a robot to go through life for us, and we got to retrain it every so often, figure out how to release it and do the rest.
I
That's
call
that's
it
actually
uh,
amazing.
I call it a corridor of comfort. A
Ah,
corridor of comfort because the decisions you made yesterday worked. And so if you make the same decisions today, it will work in keeping you comfortable and safe. The safety's an illusion that way. But we have these corridors of comfort or patterns of behavior that we're familiar with. We know what the outcome's going to be. And so we choose them over and over and over again. And that keeps us in really a fake identity of safety.
oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's exactly right too. You're validating a lot of the things that we've been talking about. We're on the same channel. It's pretty
Indeed.
simple. So
It's like we all came from the one. Imagine that.
yes, exactly. And boy, if we can only remember that, if we can only take a look at that and look at the way that we are alike instead of the way we're separate, we can change this world very quickly. It just takes that effort, takes that retraining, so to speak. That's really beautiful, Les. And you're also doing quite a bit of work. We've talked about your books, which are available, of course, on Amazon and through your website. We've talked about the podcast quite a bit because it's a very popular podcast. Your numbers are way up there, so it's an amazing thing. You can learn a lot from the podcast. But don't you also teach and do seminars, or do you do sessions with people? What else do you do, or do you have time to do anything else?
Well, I have in the past, but I'm kind of retooling, relanguaging, if you will, my
Oh,
material.
nice.
I think I was trying to cover too much ground too fast, and it wasn't landing, if you will. It wasn't uh, getting conveyed very well. So I'm really retooling and rebranding. But soon I'll have online classes that that teach in I approach it from the notion of energy and suppressed energy, which I would relabel karma. Like that
Hmm.
anger I had suppressed in me was karma. And my definition of karma is extremely simple. My past influencing my present.
Oh, that's
That's it.
beautiful.
That's it.
That's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
And so the anger from my past was very dominant and prominent in my present experience. And so just as an example, that shows you the approach I take. And I think working straight with energy, like my television career um, afforded me, is I get out of the languaging, I get out of the mental constructs of the languaging we've used in the past. And if you just treat it like energy, just like consciousness, I think we get deeper results than others, because you'll find energy in your psyche that has no identity or label to it, but it's still karma. And so by working with yourself, your persona, this personal energy persona that you've accumulated unresolved energy in, and that's grown your karmic bubble. And then when I got popped open, it decompress and decompress and decompress. And now 30 years later, I quit getting sick. I
There you go.
I can't describe very well the consciousness that I've found in my own persona. It's quite divine.
That's magical. That's absolutely magical. That's what the group calls the bodysuit. Exactly. We're using different language, different words to describe pretty much the same thing. It's very,
Yes,
very beautiful, very magical.
yes.
That's beautiful. I'm gonna show them your website real quick too, because you do have a really nice site. I showed you the new Human Living site, but this is the one for Les Jensen, and he's got a mailing list you can sign up for to keep track of all the different things that are going on. Link to the new Human site and some different teachings that he's got in here as well.
There's a audio testimonial from one of my students where we were able to go into non-local space in a single session, and
Wow.
and that was very profound. And so that's kind of the example of, as you elevate your energy, eventually you're going to reach that Christ consciousness within you.
That's exactly what we're doing. We're doing everything we can to, I'm started channeling Lilith. We're trying to work with the balance of the masculine and feminine. And in all honesty, I didn't realize how far out we were until she started coming in recently and explaining just how unbalanced we are here. I mean, we even call it mankind. I mean, really, right down to the essence of it. It's been fascinating to all of a sudden be really looking at this from a different angle. And I know you've talked a lot about it a lot on your podcast as well, and to interview some of the people that you've been interviewing as well. But the whole idea of the new human, we have some really wonderful potentials that are coming here for humanity in different ways. Yes, we have negativity. Yes, we have some mud puddles we're going to have to walk through. Yeah, we've got some challenges with breaking out and doing some of the things that you've done and other people have to do in order to release that spirit and be able to walk in that on a daily basis. But I'm actually very hopeful. And I know right now we've got all this confusion with AI and all this stuff going on, but I believe that down the road, we're going to learn to not trust everything we see and start making decisions from the heart more instead of the head. What do you think? Where are we going with humanity? What's your view of this?
Humanity is certainly a karmic tsunami on this planet. This
Oh,
is
great way to put it.
this is an extremely challenging planet to live on. But remember that consciousness is a logarithmic scale. And what that means, it's like earthquake scales. If you move up just one click, you're not just one click up, you're 10 times the power of the previous click. And so when humanity has been suppressed and suppressed and suppressed for generations, and now we're starting, the collective unconscious is getting revealed and we're releasing it, we're going to hit a threshold where consciousness just expands at an incredibly rapid rate. And at that point, there'll be no other outcome but heaven on earth. And we're moving towards that event. And as we all deal with the shadow within ourselves and
Yeah.
release and calibrate and align ourselves with the inherent, innate Christ consciousness at our center will literally be raising not only ourselves, but the collective consciousness on a logarithmic scale of potential.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love the idea of the seismic scale with that. That makes a lot of sense actually, because it does. Just even a little bit of movement changes everything in your world
It
very quickly.
does.
Very
The
quickly.
human persona, flesh and bones. You have one of
Right.
these, you got a body.
Yeah,
Because
we got to walk around with
billion,
this crazy ego that is, yeah.
yeah, but billions of prayers, billions have been prayed to the big guy, God with a capital G, and here the suffering still stinks. God with a big G is not going to descend from the heavens and wave their wand and change the slums into
I
palaces.
agree.
It's not going to play out. It's through the human persona. We're here for the human experience. So if you have a human body, you are the vehicle of the divine to transmute the karmic tsunami into the golden era, really.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Nice way to put it. We're the ones that we're the part of God that is here. We're the
That's
part of
right.
God that can be incarnate and carry this if only we can set aside some of the challenges of the automatic brain, of the bodysuit, and the ideas of who we think we are, changing
Sure.
our own story and some of the magical parts of that. That's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I love what you're saying here. How can people find you? What's the best way to connect with you?
LesJensen.com or newhumanliving.com, and that'll also connect you with the podcast. And I've written
Okay.
a couple of books, Citizen King, The New Age of Power, so you don't overdose on your ego, and Forgiven Sinner, God's Last Savior. That is actually a spiritual book to help you. You have to heal your relationship with God if you're going to embody your God consciousness. You have to heal your relationship with God. So Forgiven Sinner, God's Last Savior, is a spiritual book to help you understand your divinity. And it's through your divinity, you as a vehicle of divinity, that you play your part out in transmuting this karmic tsunami into heaven on earth.
Awesome. Absolutely incredible. Jess, we're gonna have to have you back, Les, and finish this conversation because this is just really opening some doors for us.
No
Um,
problem.
thank you
Anytime.
for being here with us. We're kind of running out of time, but I do wanna leave you with a final word here, or something that you'd like to share with all of us here before we go, just as kind of a last word of wisdom, if you will.
Sure. Do not, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid in the slightest. The truth of you is untouchable by human intentions. The continuity of your consciousness is assured no matter what. Take a breath, take and relax, and do not be afraid. Be here as you so the love of God can express in you, through you, as you fulfill your divine purpose.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being with us here today. I've enjoyed it. We've made a friend again. It's just been, well, we've talked before on your show, so it
Yes.
was a wonderful opportunity. Thank you for doing all this, and thank you for allowing yourself to completely come out. That must have been very challenging for you, and we all benefited when you did. So awesome work, my friend.
Well,
Excellent
thank
job.
you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, we'll be back. We'll do it again. Absolutely. Okay, everybody. That's it for today. That's the Backstory Podcast with Les Jensen. And we'll have the links and so forth right down below. But thank you all for being with us here today. And just remember, we can all do this if we just hold hands. We just have to look at the ways we are alike instead of the ways we're separate. Know that we all have a responsibility to this. And we can change this world one heart at a time. if we just step forward and do it. That's Bob, everybody. We'll see you in a couple weeks.